Hi folks, this is Tim from Tim's Project Car. Back to work on the Oldsmobile. As you see, she's coming together pretty nice. It's almost done for basically the gas tank, and you can drive it out of here, put the bumpers on, and a few little nitpicky details that I have to do. But this week it's about the gas tank and figuring out what to do about this ethanol gas that we have today. Um, Near my home, there's a station that has non-ethanol premium, which I will be running most of the time. I think for the most part, it's better to use the non-ethanol if you can get it. Um, but you can also predict it if you go to a car show or if you go to an autocross or if you go to a drag strip. Somewhere along the way, you might find yourself needing gas, and the only thing available is the ethanol stuff. Uh, where I am, it's E10. And that can cause a lot of havoc. My brother went for a ride in his Challenger a few weeks ago, and he ran into that. He put the ethanol gas in it, and it went a few miles and just quit because he had the original gas tank, or at least a very old gas tank, and the ethanol cleaned the junk out of the tank and sent it forward, and it plugged up. It got into the carburetor, and he wound up changing the carburetor and got it going again, but he had quite time. So the thing to do, I think, is some preventive measures. So I went and bought me a stainless steel tank. So even though I'm not going to run the ethanol stuff very often, I know I can get away with it with a stainless steel tank. And the other thing that I'm doing is I'm running, this is 3/8, it's the NICOP line. That's corrosion resistant, so, and my old fuel line is original, so it's pretty bad. So I'm replacing that. The carburetor is new, and the fuel pump is a Holley mechanical. I don't think it's made for alcohol, so the carburetor and the fuel pump probably aren't going to want the ethanol, but you can get away with it for short periods if you get stuck somewhere. And so that's what I'm doing there. So things to deal with stainless steel is the dissimilar metal issue. Stainless is very good at not rusting unless it's touching rusty metal. Okay, so like the bottom of my car, I painted with the chassis paint. So like short term, it's not going to bother it. Because chassis paint against this stainless steel isn't going to hurt anything. But over time, if it, vibration and rubbing, it might rub through, and now suddenly it's touching the original floor of the Oldsmobile against this, and that can start rust. Also, the tank straps. I put rust converter on them. I have no explanation why I didn't buy new tank straps. I just didn't. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this masking tape over here where it touches the floorboard of the car, and over the bottom of the tank where it's going to be touching the tank straps. And that'll give me some protection from the dissimilar metal issue. This here is going to be greased along with the O-ring that goes here. And that, the filler tube assembly, I don't know what you even call that part, is also painted and everything, but I'm going to rely on grease to help me out there. I don't think that will move because it's pretty tight once you tighten the lock ring. And then of course rubber line in between this and the NICOP. I think that'll work fine. This tank has two vents on it. I'm going to use one of the two. This 1/2-inch one I'm going to just cap off. Short piece of hose, bolt in the end of it. It doesn't have to be fancy. This 1/4-inch one, what I'm going to do is I have some 1/4-inch NICOP line. I'm going to hook it to this. And the way the floor of the car is shaped, it's going to be able to go up and make a loop and come back down and then go back. I'm going to have it open up over here near where the gas tank is. So if it ever is plugged, I'll be able to access it with air if I really need to. Without crawling under the car. And with any luck, the air wouldn't blow this apart. If it did, then I'd be crawling under the car. But you have to have this vent. It runs a non-vented cap because the way at least on this car, and old Novas and stuff were the same way. You have this filler tube, and as you can see, if the tank is full, the gas, you step on the gas pedal and it'll just leak right out. I've seen it happen. My first job as a teenager, I remember seeing someone come in and gas up with an old Nova, and his cap wasn't tight enough, and it was leaking gas out right down the road as he was driving away. So you don't want the vent here. All right, so you want to use this vent, and you want to use a non-vented cap. And the reason I'm going to loop this up around like that is so if you mash on the brakes, like I plan to do with autocross, you don't want it sloshing forward and then leaking out. So that, to me, is the way to go. I'm not running a charcoal canister. The car is sold. I don't believe it's required, at least in my state. And so that's the way to go. And with this combination of stuff, you should be able to reliably drive the car. And if you most of the time put the non-ethanol in it, and then once in a while you put in 5 gallons of the crappy stuff just to get it home, you'll be okay. I just wouldn't park it for the winter with ethanol in it, no matter what, because it will ruin the carburetor over time, and probably the fuel pump. So those two things are to think of. But in a pinch, you'll be able to do it with these changes. So now I'm going to get started at putting this together. So the first thing I have to do is I have to put this in, and so that's over on the other bench, and I'm going to get that and put that in. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so this isn't super easy, but it's doable. Okay, so I'll bring it a little closer to show, but that's locked in. Okay, you can see that this is locked in. This is against this. This one bent over some, but it's up against it. So it's fully locked in, and that's held in place. I can put the other wire on that pin. These are the 2 wires for the gas gauge. And I have no idea if they still work. I'll have to check it with an ohmmeter to see what happens with it. But this is all installed. So the next step is I'm going to put a length of hose on so that I can hook into it with the NICOP line once this tank is installed. That way it's a little easier to get it. This will be hard to get at once it's on the car. And that'll be the next step. Okay, so here I am. I got the tape put on here like this. The color's not that different, though some people wouldn't like it. I got it on the bottom as well. Well, actually the top. It's upside down. Here's the vent line. Here's the one I capped off. Here's a length of 3/8 because I'm going to be coming at it with a NICOP, and this will probably get trimmed. But anyway, that gets me a starting point so I can get at things easily once it's hung up under the car. Now it's time to get after the straps. Well, here I am cleaning up these gas tank straps. One of those coulda, woulda, shoulda things where I probably should have just bought new ones, but I didn't. Here we are. Been wire wheeling on. I'm going to have to sandpaper inside there where I can't reach. And I'm going to put some rust converter on them, clean them up good, and reuse them. I am a cheapskate sometimes, but this is the before. I haven't touched this one yet. And moving on. And once I get them cleaned up good, then I will put the tank up on the table and I'll fit them to it, because you can see they got bent on some in storage or wherever, and go on to the next step. Something I like to use, this is actually a trim router. It's a Makita trim router. It's got variable speeds and stuff. Nothing too special, but it works well as an electric die grinder. It's a little bit heavier, but I don't have to listen to the compressor hammer away, and I find it works pretty well for me. So, you know, I think it was only like $70 or $80 at Home Depot. But that's going to get me into these inside places there, and that'll finish it up much nicer. Okay, here's the gas tank up under the car. I got the gas tank straps on. It fits in here the way it's supposed to, just barely. And I have the bolts here. I double nutted these bolts because I like to do that. I don't like things loosening up really. And so up in here you can see where this line is for the vent. Here's the gas line. So the next step is to run the gas lines, and that's going to be a fun project. So this is probably going to take care of it for me today, and then next week I'm going to get after running the gas lines and the vent line.